Ever feel like you're unprepared for an event or a camp out or meeting? This is a common thing with scout leaders, and it's important to have a must-have list of reference material available. Let's talk about it. Hey, ScouterStan, let's talk a little bit about that reference materials. This is something you can put on your cell phone. Simple, these things, these are great to have. They can be a blessing and a curse. So always remember that. But this is just a list of 10 critical things that you should consider to put in your library, or as we'll discuss, putting it together in different ways. But these are resources that you should always have at your fingertips, especially when you're organizing meetings or organizing activities or adventures. These are critical reference materials. Now, the first one I highly recommend is the Guide to Safe Scouting. Now, we have talked about that in detail, especially this season, but it is a critical asset to have for any adult leader so that they can look up. There's even a chart inside that guidelines that actually gives you the differences between, say for instance, a Cub Scout or a troop or a crew. They have different rules. So that's something that needs to be considered and referenced quite often. Now, another big one is, of course, anything to do with merit badge requirements. They have a book with just the requirements for every single merit badge. Now, that has to be kept up to date. That could be done easily as a PDF. A lot of times you can use those public access workbooks that they have out there. Those are great to have a list of all the requirements, and it gives you an idea of what's going on with a particular merit badge. Merit badges are a big deal, especially in a troop. You gotta have all those requirements in mind. If you're covering that in a troop meeting, say for instance you're doing a meeting getting ready for a canoe trip, the canoe merit badge, you have to identify things that are with the canoe and the equipment that's with the canoe. That could be a very good resource in developing whatever you're going to be talking about with that particular meeting. The Scout Handbook, yeah, that is huge, okay? And having something that is electronic would be very nice to have. That's something that I would recommend. And having that as a reference, whether it be through Scout Book or something of that nature, is a good idea. Now, if you're with a Cub Scout group, you need your dens. The den leader, at least, should have that den's specific book. So if you're with the bears or the wolves, that's the thing. They have to have that as a reference. The wonderful thing about those books is that they're meant for the youth. Now, the thing about Cub Scouts, each grade level in Cub Scouting, that is written for that level to be able to read and comprehend, and it's a very simple process of the requirements. And with a troop level, you're dealing with teenagers, so that's the level that book is really put together for. And so it's kept within that group and what they do. If you have a girl troop, you would have the handbook, which has all the illustrations with girls. Actually putting it together like a fire or how to tie a knot. That's all done, illustrated for girls, so that they can kind of relate to that. Same thing's true for the boys. They have their own handbook with boys doing the square knot. That's one of those things. It's an incredibly important resource, and it's probably the number one. Let's put it that way. That particular resource is very valuable. Program Planning Guide. Oh my gosh. There are 3 volumes, and this is kind of nice to have, especially if you're a brand new unit. If you're a brand new troop and you want to do something like the canoeing idea, they have modules in there where all the planning and all of the things that are having to do with that canoeing subject, so that you can go canoeing. That's a wonderful thing to have that program guide there. But it doesn't stop there. It's got hiking and camping and cooking and all the different things that a troop may want to cover within their meetings. And a while back, we actually put together a thing about making meetings interesting. So definitely go back. Use those things to prepare for the adventure, the big adventure that you want to go on. You want to make sure that you have those things there and available. That is an awesome reference. Another big one would be training materials. A lot of times when you go to live training like Baloo or IOLS or Wood Badge even, there's materials that are given that would be great to reference later on. That would be a great reference material to go back to, digitally or physically, like a book or something. This is true. You want to put things together so that you can go back and reference that material so that you have it available when needed. That's the big part. And earlier when I talked about the guide to safe scouting, I've actually done a video on that. Check that out. That video has all the particulars about the Guide to Safe Scouting. Okay, before we go any further, I want to make sure that you know that you're invited to the campfire chat. This is a live meeting right here on this channel that we do every first Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. This is a great way to ask questions and not just me, but a lot of the guests that we have on the fireside chat. Definitely check that out. Also, I want to thank all of the Patreon for all of their support of this channel. In addition to that, we have our own membership right here on the channel. This is a fantastic way to get involved on this channel. Definitely hit the join button. It'll give you a bunch of information that'll tell you a little bit more about that process. So definitely get involved. We're going to just jump right on back. Now, another big thing to put in your reference library would be anything to do with the chartered organization, whether it be their bylaws or things that they have that they've given the unit and they want us as a part of that organization to abide by. There could be rules. This could be also the troop rules of conduct. Okay. Now, normally in a scouting situation, the Scout Oath and Scout Law is primary. That covers almost everything that could come up. And everything else, participation levels and dues and all that other stuff can be spelled out. So that's another thing you add in there. And then you have your district and council, stuff you pick up from roundtable, stuff you pick up from a council event. Those are important to put in your reference library. Now, another big one, of course, is the Guide to Advancement. Yep. Guide to Advancement is one of the critical reference materials that's out there. The Guide to Advancement covers everything from Cub Scouts all the way through to a troop, all the way through a crew, all the way through a Sea Scout ship. It covers all of the advancement that is involved with your scouting. And we actually have a video. So it's all about advancement. This is critical to put in your library of reference material. Meeting and camp checklists. This is critical. Now, a lot of times this reference material is something that comes up on a regular basis. So when you're going camping, you need to have a checklist. How many Dutch ovens, how many tents, how many, you just go down the list. That's a checklist for other leaders in the future that may want to have that. You may want to even have a checklist in there for the meeting. You know, who's got opening, who's got closing, who's got cleanup, who's got setup. These are things that are referenced a lot. In fact, when I was doing my little legacy thing that I was handing on to the next adult leader, is that I actually kept kind of a diary of each meeting. You know, what was going on at each meeting, who's got opening, closing, who's cleaning up, who's putting things away, what was the special subject, and, you know, so that they had that. So when they're in planning, they can refer to it. When they are at a patrol leaders conference or patrol leaders meeting, that's a critical thing, so that you can fill out the stuff that they're doing. Sometimes they would put it all on a whiteboard and I just take a picture of it. You know, that was helpful, just to have that information there so that I could go back the following week and say, wait a minute, did we change our subject? You know, that could be a reference, and that's important too. Digital tools and different kinds of applications. Digital tools could be Scoutbook. Scoutbook is a great app. A lot of Scout units have started to move from the past into the future with Scoutbook. Scoutbook's going to be integrated a lot with the advancement, and there's a lot of information that could be pulled from that. Not only just the organization information, all of the stuff with that pack or the troop or the crew, not only that, but a lot of the information about activities that they've done, different service projects, and those kinds of things. That's a critical thing, to have some kind of digital setup like that. And even a database of all of your, let's say for instance you're tracking all the Life Scouts. You could have a database of all the Life Scouts and the projects they're working on. So that could be something in a like a spreadsheet, and as long as it's kept, any of that information is kept, in very tight control, encrypted, shouldn't have a problem with it, as long as it is kept for your reference so that you can use that to help those scouts. That's a critical thing. And so there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of things out there, but you have to make sure that it doesn't violate anything with youth protection training. You want to make sure that software isn't open to the world, because there are a lot of bad people out there, and we don't need them having that information. So make sure that it's secure. Make sure that it is not publicly out there. You want it encrypted. You want it difficult. You have to have password protection. It has to be behind those types of things so that it's kept good and clean. That's an important part. Create a legacy. This is something that's very important. You are not going to be in that scouting position your entire life. Okay? You're going to move on eventually. So the person that's coming behind you should hit the ground running. Create that legacy of all of this information. Have a book of your own as your reference, your library. It could be digital, it could be physical, but it has to be something that you've put together over your time in scouting. If you haven't done this already, you need to start now. Make me a promise, okay? Make sure that you think about this. Put together something that you could give to the next person, okay? If you're in a large troop, it's kind of a natural for you to pass on that information. But if you're in a small troop, they don't. And it's so sad So sad. That information, their experiences, all of their references have to be recreated. That's not the way it's meant to be. You want to make sure that you have your reference library where you can help the next person doing what you're doing in scouting. Make sure that that continues, and that's a legacy thing. And really building that is extremely important. To start doing that today, you can easily take a lot of this data that's electronic and put it on a thumb drive. That was what I did. I thought that was great. I could actually make a copy of that and hand it to the next leader. That was important. So that's kind of a bonus, little bonus there. Think about that part. Being able to hand this on is very critical to the success of not just you, but the one who replaces you eventually. Okay, that could be many years from now, but you have many years to develop that tool that they will want, that they need. Very important. Keep it up to date too. Now, you probably have some must-haves that I didn't even touch on. So definitely put it in the comments. This is interactive, okay? Make sure you put it in the comments what you think. And I think I covered a lot of it, but put it in the comments so that others can talk about it. And this is something that if you've gotten this legacy book or thumb drive or files, you need to update it. You need to keep it up to date. This stuff changes, okay, over time, changes. So that you're not looking at program helps from the 60s. You're looking at program helps from the last time it was issued. So that's the important thing. You need to keep it up to date. Now, I like all the history, okay, and but put it under that tab if it's electronic, okay. That this is historic reference, okay. That's a big thing. You got to keep it up to date. Scouting America is going through a renaissance. We are going to be doing good things. Now, we may not have a whole bunch of people joining in, which probably will eventually pick up, but quality leaders, ones that watch things like this, that's an important part, and I'm so glad that you're a part of this. Definitely keep up that good hard work. And if you're interested, I have a parent's guide, okay? Definitely check that out. Until next time, I'll see you on the trail.